Hey, welcome back to Apologetics for Everyone. I am actually going to veer off of biblical apologetics right now and kind of talk about politics, and not politics, but politics in the church and the division going on. And it's really just been increasing to where people genuinely hate each other and we lack the ability to understand each other and look past beliefs and see actual people. And I've really been thinking long and hard about this over many months, as people are divided over COVID and mask wearing. And, one side will say the other side doesn't care if children die, and the other side thinks, that sees like a dictatorship stamping out our freedoms and forcing everyone to wear masks at gunpoint. And the whole thing over Black Lives Matter and the death of George Floyd, and a lot of the division over that, the narratives involved in that story, and of course the recent election and battle between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. There have been so many points of division where I think we've lost sight of our primary allegiance as Christians, and that is to Jesus Christ and to the Bible and what the Bible teaches. And of course, we tend to filter what the Bible teaches in our faith through current events and what's going on in the world, but I don't think we see how we are being manipulated. And dun dun dun, I know that sounds conspiratorial. I am not a conspiracy theorist, I don't think. And I'm my personality is I am skeptical when I hear things and I hear news, whether it's against something or for something, and people feel strongly about it. I really try to do my own research and really dig into the data and see the facts for myself. Although I am going to share this video in as impartial a way as I possibly can and go after both sides, because I think we both have responsibility. And I think this is going to kind of be if the shoe fits, wear it kind of thing. But I'm not trying to pretend that I am impartial. I did vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden, one of those. So I do have, a horse in the race or a dog in the fight. That's politically incorrect. I'm going to share two things that reinforces or is causing this problem. Well, first is you and me and our basic human nature. But there's two things more recently in developments that have come about that have really exacerbated this and made it horrible. One is media, and the second is social media. The media is the things that we listen to, radio, things we watch on TV, and even some of the websites we go to that are not social media, but different ways that we get our news and find out information that's happening, because those things are, for the most part, almost everything you listen to is very biased. Think about it. You already have a presupposition or preconceived notion about a side that is right. You are already on the left. Maybe you lean a little left, or maybe you're very much on the left, or you're lean right, or you're very much on the right. And then the news that you're going to be looking at is going to reinforce your bias. If I'm on the left, I'm not going to be watching Fox News for my news. They're going to drive me crazy. If I'm on the right, I'm not going to watch CNN or MSNBC or go to liberal websites on the left because they're going to drive me crazy as well. So we're only going to sources that are feeding our confirmation bias, things that are going to show me what I already believe because I want to think I'm a smart person. And so if they agree with me and everything I see and everything I take in reinforces what I already believe, it just goes to show that I'm right. And the problem is they spin things and they share a certain narrative that does not take all the facts into account. They're for-profit businesses. And so Fox News is going to show you things that are going to all be against Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, and they are not going to show you things that are negative against Donald Trump. And they're going to either hide or defend anything that's negative about Donald Trump. At the same time, CNN and MSNBC, and I'm just using Fox News on one side, CNN and MSNBC on another side, just as examples, because there's The Blaze and there's a lot of other things on the right, Breitbart, and there's more things on the left as well. But CNN and MSNBC are not going to be showing you anything that's negative on Biden or things that come out against Biden, because let's say CNN starts being a little more fair, sharing some favorable stories about things Donald Trump has done well in, then you're not going to like that. You're going to go to MSNBC. And if you're on MSNBC and they're starting to be a little more fair toward Trump, you're going to go to CNN. And they exist for viewers. They need viewers to make money, to pay their bills. The same thing is true of Fox News. If Fox News starts making stories against Donald Trump, or they do something really egregious like calling Arizona too early for Joe Biden, sorry, that aggravated me a little bit, if you can't tell which side I'm on now. But this is both sides, though. They exist to reinforce a certain narrative, and they're not going to be fair about it, because you will go to another source, and they don't want that. They need you, the viewer, to make money. Their revenue depends on that. And so they're only going to share one narrative. They're only going to make the other candidate or the people on the other side look like the worst people possible. And so I notice, every 4 years there's an election, and Sean Hannity comes on and he paints the most dismal picture. And I know, and I do believe this last election was the most important election we've ever had, but they always say, both sides will say, this is the most important election ever. It will decide everything. Well, guess what? That happened with Barack Obama. Did the world end when Barack Obama had 8 years in the presidency? No. And the most important election ever would also be, when Donald Trump got elected against Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump won. Did the world end? No. Did slavery get reinstated? Did women's rights get rolled back? No. Abortion will be a whole nother topic that I'm dying to weigh in on and talk about from a biblical perspective. But the point is this: it is in every news network's interest to maintain their core viewership. And so they're going to tell you what you want to hear, and they are not going to be fair, neither side. And neither will supposed fact checkers. You have to be the fact checker. You have to examine the facts yourself. Be skeptical of what you say. I'm just going to give one example. And there's example on both sides, but this is just the one, it really stands out to me. How many times have you heard, or I heard, in Charlottesville, they were trying to take down a statue, and Donald Trump spoke on the topic, and there were neo-Nazis marching with torches, and KKK and white supremacists. And Donald Trump made the statement that there are fine people on both sides. He called white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and KKK fine people. Can you believe that? Donald Trump is so racist. And that's just one example of many, many examples of how racist Donald Trump is. And if you support Donald Trump, then you must be a racist too. At least that's the narrative. But what happens when we dig into that comment? Because he did say there are fine people on both sides. Donald Trump, in the very same speech, just a couple of minutes later, said that he was specifically not talking about the neo-Nazis and white nationalists. He said, I condemn them totally, and they should be condemned totally. In fact, there's this narrative that Donald Trump has a hard time condemning white supremacy. Donald Trump has very specifically, in very clear words, condemned white supremacy over and over and over and over again. Look it up. He condemns it. In fact, Chris Wallace asked him if he condemned white supremacy, and he replied, sure. He's like, and you're against neo-Nazis, this and that. Donald Trump, sure. And, he didn't say it as clearly as he should have. But if you just go back to the election and debate from 4 years ago, Chris Wallace asked him the same question, and Donald Trump gave the same answer, that he totally condemned white supremacy. So this is just a false narrative about racism that comes from one side, and we really need to check it, because, Joe Biden, I'm not saying Trump lies. Trump lies. I'm not just taking one side. I'm only giving you one example of how the media spins things so that you only get one version of the story. And so when I see friends of mine, Facebook friends of mine, posting on Facebook, if you support Donald Trump, you're a racist too. And All I do is I'm not defending Donald Trump because he has said some horrible things, indefensible things. But all I ask is, can you please give me an example of something racist that Donald Trump has said or done? And that is always the first example to find people on both sides. And when I point out that it's wrong, they go and do an internet search on racist things Donald Trump has said. They have to do a search that will then give them answers that are already going to fit the narrative. And, you know, the reality is you can come back with racist things Joe Biden has said, and there are many of them. But if you're on the left, your media is not going to be showing you the racist things that Joe Biden has said. And if you're on the right, you're not going to see the negative things about Donald Trump in the same way. You're being protected and just receiving things that are, going with the things that you already believe. Confirmation bias. We are locked in these echo chambers where we only hear what we already believe and only hear and accept things that reinforce what we already believe, and we're not hearing any other narrative or any other story. And so when we look at people, if I'm a Republican and I'm looking and I'm a Trump supporter and I'm looking at people on the left who are against Trump, then I'm automatically assuming that those people are anti-religion, anti-freedom. They want to take away our guns, and they hate liberty. And if I'm on the left, I'm looking at people on the right and I'm thinking they are bigoted, they are anti-LGBTQ+, they are anti-black, they're anti-women, they're just a bunch of racist, homophobic, transgender phobic, everything phobic people. And I'm not allowing for nuance, understanding that people are people and they have a variety of reasons for believing what they believe. How might I correct that misinterpretation? Not by saying, if you support Trump, then I don't want to be your friend on Facebook. That's childish. You're not my friend anymore. Honestly. How about you actually ask them why they believe what they believe? Why don't you say, help me understand, like I'm having a hard time understanding how you can support Trump and not be a racist. Please help me understand. And you might actually learn something and be enlightened. Or if you're on the Biden side, I think anybody who's on the left, I'm just giving an example, supports the murder of babies because the left is pro-choice, pro-abortion. Help me understand how you don't support the murder of unborn babies. And have a conversation and see that person as an actual person. We're going to actually look at and try to understand that a little bit better. But that's why we're so divided, because all the media that we listen to or watch reinforces one narrative that makes it completely impossible for you to understand the position of somebody who believes differently than you do, who's getting the opposite narrative. And so that's partially the media's fault, but what are they going to do? They're businesses. So I put the burden on us because we're just blindly accepting the things that we hear without looking into it ourselves. So it's no wonder that we're so divided. There's no basic recognition that we're all people who might support a candidate for a variety of reasons. And there may be things we like about a candidate, and there may be things we don't like about a candidate. The second thing is social media. You need to watch The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. If you canceled your subscription, I did recently. But I reinstated it because I really wanted to watch this. There's also a YouTube channel, ZDoggMD. I'm going to link it right here. So I recommend watching his video or explanation of the video, Social Dilemma, if you don't want to get Netflix. He summarizes it really, really well. And also, he's very balanced. I don't know if he's a Republican, Democrat, left, right. Maybe he's a libertarian. I have no idea, because plays his cards close to the vest. But I find him very balanced and very nuanced in the way that he explains things. So I highly recommend it. But the point of the movie Social Dilemma, there's a lot of psychological impacts that the social media has on us that we are unaware of. But one of the most important points I took away from that, and from ZDoggMD's podcasts on YouTube, is that we think we are the consumer, that we're the audience for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these channels, but we're not. The businesses, the advertisers are the ones that pay Facebook money. We use Facebook, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. So if something's free, you're not the consumer, you're not the one who's paying for the product, you are the product. And how does Facebook make money? How does Instagram make money? How does Google, how do all these companies make money? You don't pay them to use it unless you're an advertiser. They make money by your attention. The more your eyes are on your screen, on their networks, on whatever you're looking at, whatever you're thinking about, as long as they have your eyes, as long as they have your minds, as long as they have your attention, your brain is monetized. And they get your attention. They have algorithms. They already know what you like. Start typing something into Google. Type Anthony Fauci. You're going to see different things than I see because it knows my search history. It knows all the videos that I watch or listen to on YouTube, and that's a lot. And it knows what you like. It knows you. Better, probably maybe better than you know you. And so it shows you the things that you like. It reinforces that same confirmation bias. And so the information you see on a Google search on that main screen, maybe the first option or the first several, and you're not going to get the facts. You're going to get things that support what you already believe or fit the narrative that Twitter, Facebook, and Google want you to have. And that's censorship, and that's a whole other issue. But they monetize your brain by grabbing your attention, and they grab your attention by using algorithms that know the things that you've searched for, know the websites you go to, listen to the things that you talk about, and they know all about you. And it's in the computer program. That's what an algorithm is. It's not like there's people there listening to what you're saying. And the algorithms are going to show you more of what you like, more of content of things that you already agree with. And so it's and it acts on dopamine. You get a rush when you get confirmation bias and you realize, oh, what I believe is true. And oh, masks, they don't work at all. Or masks, if you don't wear a mask, then you are against health and you don't care if people die. And there's no ability to see nuance. And the people that believe otherwise are completely brainwashed. They're the conspiracy theorists, and Fauci, and Bill Gates, and they're all like working together to take away your rights so that you get this vaccine. And when you get this vaccine, you're taking the mark of the beast. Anyway, I'm just exaggerating. Unless you already believe that, I'm sorry. Maybe. So the problem is when we get our media and our social media this way, we're only hearing one story over and over and over again. And what that does is it makes it impossible for us to see the other side, to see other people as people. In other words, when I see someone that's a Trump supporter, I automatically picture, the white pointy hood and the torch and the pitchfork and crosses burning and Jim Crow coming back. And, when I see someone that supports Joe Biden, I see people that support, butchering babies in the womb and selling fetal parts for money and supporting Planned Parenthood and taking away our guns and taking away our rights. And so we see people that believe otherwise as evil. They are the enemy. My friends, they are not the enemy. We're all being manipulated. And now, again, when I say we're all being manipulated, I sound conspiratorial. Watch The Social Dilemma. Literally, we are all being manipulated. Are your thoughts really your own thoughts? No. So you start to think that there's something really wrong with people that don't believe the same as you. If you don't support Trump, there must be something really wrong with you. If you do support Trump, there must be something really wrong with you. You're either evil or you're stupid. You're uninformed. That's what the opposite side thinks of you. And if I make my case for who I support and why, you can think I'm evil or stupid and I would expect you to, because that's all you've heard. You've only heard one side. And then you're going to start posting on Facebook about it. Not that we've ever seen that happen. And you're going to alienate people who don't believe the same as you. So what is the way out of this? First, you need to pray. It's like in 1 Peter 3:15, when Peter says, always be prepared to give an answer to those who ask you to give a reason for the hope that you have. That before he even says that, he says, set in your heart, Set apart in your heart, Christ is Lord. You need to settle that issue. Jesus has to come first. And everything we believe, we have to filter through the Bible, through the Word of God, through what God says. That needs to be our primary filter. We don't filter the Bible through the world. That's my next series, getting back to apologetics, is having a biblical worldview to begin with. But first, here's point number one. Assume the best about people's motives. Assume that other people aren't racist. Other people aren't advocating murdering babies. Assume the best about people's motives and allow for nuance. Allow for people to have a gray area, a diversity of opinion or reasons for believing what they believe. Don't believe what the media says that tries to just constantly box people into a hole and have everybody believe the same thing. Allow for nuance. And second is actually listen to people. Don't, and I know some people, you may be watching this and maybe you've done this. I forgive you. You know, the Bible says to be slow to anger, quick to listen, quick to forgive. You know, let people go. But listen to people. Ask somebody a question. Hey, can I talk to you? Do you mind just, I'm not understanding. Help me to understand why you believe such and such. And listen, have an open mind. There are things that I believe that could be wrong. There are things that you believe that could be wrong. Hold some of your beliefs, your belief and your faith in Jesus, that has to be held tightest of all, but other things maybe a little more loosely. Allow that you might be wrong, because half of America is on a lot of given issues. Second is, when you hear something that really sounds egregious, do your own research. Maybe you think everyone who supports Donald Trump is a racist because you're being fed a narrative that isn't necessarily true. Do your own research, look into it, and also research the other side and see some of the things. I'm using racism as an example, but look at some of the things that Joe Biden has said. You know, being interviewed, saying all black people think the same, and that Hispanics, you know, have diversity of opinion. And then reinforcing that, well, before he said that, he told a black person interviewing him that if you don't support him, you're not black. Or if you vote for Donald Trump, you're not black. He supported segregation and didn't want schools being turned into racial jungles. Those are his words. You might not know that if you only looked at one side. And the same is true for those on the right. You know, do your own research, like really dig into it, and don't just research if you want reinforcement that Trump is a racist. Don't do a search, you know, racist things Trump has said, because that's going to show you what you already want to believe. Do actual research, seek the truth. And that's the third point. Seek the truth, not confirmation bias. Be willing to accept if you're wrong. An atheist actually said this, Matt Dillahunty, but I totally agree with him. And I don't think he's open-minded on this question. But his goal, one of his goals in life, is to believe as many true things and not believe as many false things as possible. Set that as a goal, to try to believe things that are true. That means you have to look for things that you already believe and look for how they may be false. Attack and critically think. Think critically. That means you think about the things that you think, and how do you know that what you're thinking is correct, and how do you know that it's true? You have to look at the other side. And that doesn't mean watch Fox News if you're on the left, or watch MSNBC or CNN if you're on the right. Trust me, I don't think either side could stomach that. I can't do it. Both sides are just extremely biased. You have to look for the truth. And finally, and I've shared this on Facebook a couple of times, watch Braver Angels. Check out Braver Angels on YouTube. They have done an amazing thing where they take people on both sides who strongly believe what they believe, and they have a debate, but they do it in a way where the sides end up respecting each other. And this started in 2016, during or maybe right after the last election, where you have people on the right who hated Hillary supporters and Hillary supporters who hated Trump supporters, and could not understand how anyone could vote for Hillary Clinton or how anyone could vote for Donald Trump, and yet they passionately believed what they believed. Well, they took 10 Trump supporters, 10 Hillary supporters, put them in a room together, and that was the birth of Braver Angels. It was called Better Angels at the time. And those people ended up coming out respecting the views of the others. Why? Because they talked and because they listened. Maybe conversations would be beneficial. If you want to know anything about what I believe and why I believe it, sit down and have a talk with me. And I'm happy to talk to you about it. And if you believe differently, guess what? I respect you as a human being, and I can respect what you believe, even if after a conversation, yes, do I want to convince you that I'm right? Probably. Yes, do you want to convince me that you're right and I'm wrong? Yes, probably. But we can still part as friends and have respect for one another as human beings. So again, assume the best about people's motives. Assume the best about their intentions. Second, do your own research, especially when you hear something that sounds particularly crazy or insane. See if it's true and don't just seek confirmation bias. Finally, number three, seek the truth. Look for the truth, not just confirmation of what you already believe. And I'm saying this to me too, because I want reinforcement of what I believe. That's a natural human thing. And finally, watch or listen to Braver Angels debates on YouTube. Listen to both sides. Listen to intelligent people, not just popularizers. Sure, Sean Hannity's great. Don't just listen to Sean Hannity, or don't just listen to Chris Cuomo, or don't just listen to Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon or Tucker Carlson, or, pick your favorites. Don't just listen to those people. Listen to intellectuals. Debate and talk about the issues. Listen to the people that are the best representatives of a position. Listen to black people who support Donald Trump, and listen to black people who don't support Donald Trump, and listen to their reasoning and think about these things, and just be open-minded. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for whoever's watching this video and is stuck with it till the end. God, I pray for unity in our churches, and I pray for unity in our country, God. I pray that we could let go of some of the ideas and thoughts that we have, maybe about the other person, God, that we could see through ways that we are being manipulated and do things on our own to counteract that. Give us open minds, God, to hear your truth and to hear your direction. And God, your word says in John 13:35, it says, "By this the world will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." So God, help us to love one another first as people and let go of who they vote for. In Jesus' name, amen. I've heard a lot of, I'm a little more libertarian, I'll just be honest. Less government, more freedom. If I make bad decisions and mess up my life, then I need to own those decisions, even if they impact my family. It stinks, but that's what I believe. I'm happy to talk more about it. But, there's a lot of people who believe what I believe and do not want the government regulating and stepping in and coming up with additional regulations to control the media and some of the censorship and some of the things that are going on between Twitter and YouTube and Google and Facebook and all of these algorithms and things like that. They don't want the regulation. But then there's the other side where, these companies are abusing us. And they're doing it because they're for-profit businesses who may virtue signal here and there to try to make it seem like they're on the right side and everything, but they make money by pitting us against each other. Maybe the solution is personal responsibility. In other words, maybe you need to do the research. Maybe you need to do the work to get to know other people who believe differently than you do and have conversations and understand why they believe differently and be open-minded and be a person that seeks after that. And maybe you need to have thicker skin and assume the best intentions about people. And so maybe it doesn't have to happen through regulation. Maybe we can be big boys and girls and take control and realize that everything we see and everything we hear is not necessarily true. Thank you for watching. God bless you. I hope we can all come together as Americans. We live in a great country. God bless you.